Once again, we're at the private chapel of Tango Towers, and the organ's lurking in the background, probably, if we can see it. Yeah, it's there somewhere. And we've got this power supply. It's been sent in by Mystery Benefactor Alan. Now, if you cast your minds back, I did a P&I HP 6500, not the one we bought specially, but the one we bought specially, the one we had to fix with the one we bought specially to fix it with. So when he got this P&I 6500, which had been sold on eBay as being blown up by reverse polarity and 24 volts, he then connected it to his power supply, and there's nowhere on this says it's current limited. So unfortunately, the short circuit radio blew up the power supply. So he's kindly sent us this power supply, and I'm intrigued to see what has blown up in it, and we'll have an initial look at fixing it at the club meeting today.
It connects to my Wi-Fi.
So back to this, we're going to take the lid off, having got the screws out.
Particular one won't connect anymore. So I've got the second one.
Not a lot in there.
Looking for
Okay, so there's not a lot to blow up, is there? So it's got a 2N3055, which will be the series pass transistor on the back. We've got a transistor there with a TO126 case, probably a BD126, 136 or something like that. We've got 4 diodes there, so you're going to be looking at 3 amp as it says, and a possibility of a peak of 5. We'll be testing that when we get it working. And what could pass for probably a 2.5 amp transformer, and then you've just got the terminals on the back. So we need to, I'm not going to power this up, mind you, it's chopped the mains lead off, so we'll do something as a bodge up to get power onto it when we're ready. Taking the 2 screws out, and we're left with the printed circuit board, and you can see it's a low production thing, the kind of thing we would produce. And I think we'll look, can I have a multimeter please from the table behind you please, Ian?
So which one would you like?
Oh, I've had that yellow one's a nice colour. Yeah, I thought a plethora. Oh, that's Mr Chippie's one, the other one. Another one, thank you. So with the meter, we're going to just look for some short circuits straight away. So here we go. There are 4 diodes, of course, for the rectifier. So a quick check, make sure we've got a short, I'll make sure that's kind of in shot of the camera as well. We're just going to look for short circuits very quickly. Hello. Are we in hot? I think I've pressed the hold button. No, I haven't. That's better. So that's all right. That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. Now there's a Zener diode just here. We have a Zener diode tester. Don't know whether the peak tester here does Zeners, but we'll just check and see if it does. We do have a Zener tester, but it would mean me going across to Mr Chippie's to find it. Zener diode tested 5 milliamps at 0.75 of a volt. So the fact it's reading is that it is a Zener diode. I don't really need to know what it is because it must clearly work. So that leaves us with the series pass transistor on the back, which is a 2N3055, and it leaves us with this TO126 case transistor, which if we swizzle this round sufficiently is something I need several pairs of glasses to read. Hello, the dehumidifier's come on. So I think the easiest thing to do is to switch on the little soldering iron. This isn't a promotion. I could say others available. I've not seen one which works on a 20 volt tool. I saw Big Clive's YouTube channel. He turned down the temperature with some clever hack.
Put a resistor in it.
Yes.
In there.
You saw that as well. You both saw that. Yes.
In series with another resistor.
Yeah. But is this the Mark II or is this the Mark I? I don't know. And I'd have to tip it up and anyway. So this is warming up. This is the bit where I edit the video.
So My guesstimate is it's a great big chunky power transistor on the up.
I think it's a diode in the bridge rectifier.
Well, check those.
In theory,
Just check
Check all four.
Oh, well.
I'm working on the principle. The bit that
Under
does the
there.
work and is pushing the power out at the end is the bit that goes pop.
So I'd like to think it's the driver transistor.
Why?
Experience.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
But I may be totally wrong.
Why not? I suppose because the power transistor.
That's suddenly going to take a lot of current,
Well,
and that's not on a heat sink.
no, so the big power transistor can take current
Yes.
and is heat sunk. Yeah.
So
okay.
that could.
Whereas the
That's,
little ones go. "Whoa!"
so that's capable of 3 amps, but in free air, 900 milliamps. So I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, we're now warm. So I'll just pop off. I won't. A couple of wires from this. So red to the left. I'm saying this on camera, so I can play this tape back later. And you know, just sidetracking. I like sidetracking. We've got this FD97 Mavica here, which is a bit dusty. It lives in the organ workshop. For taking these are 1,050 quid, and it's a floppy disk camera. And these have a movie mode. And I want you to know, folks, that in movie mode, it's 5 seconds at 120 pixel resolution. So I don't want anyone to think you can take some megapixel, you know this is a megapixel camera, it doesn't apply when you take the 5 seconds of video. It doesn't take much thinking that it's not going to go on a floppy disk. And I saw this type of thing, or the other ones, which have a movie mode, actually being sold as camcorder stroke stills camera. It's not a camcorder. 5 seconds at 120 resolution with some bit of sound. Yeah. Right, so that's digress. So we're now going to get the meter back, and we'll see what this says when I put it across the transistor. We've got the dog here, Enzo, and it looks like he's about to get fed.
He was going to get a treat for laying down and being a good boy, but now he's up in the air.
He's thinking about this. NPN silicon transistor. Well, that's not faulty then.
You've got to leave in the prediction we did earlier. If it was recording, I think it was.
It was.
Right. Good boy.
Here's some rubbish solder which came with the soldering iron. That's probably why these soldering irons are a hotter temperature than you'd expect to work with this lead-free rubbish. So I'll just put those back on, because I may as well. Now one of the members here, Stuart, is an electrician. So when we do a mains leak, right, so that's back on. Now, I don't think there's a solder sucker here. I'm just going to pause the camera. Okay, so we've now got the transistor out, having borrowed a solder sucker off Mr Chippie's bench. So, what can I, if I put 2 pairs of glasses on?
For me to read it.
No. It's BD135. I guessed 136, didn't I, camera? Yes, Mr 21. So we've got the writing away from the capacitor. I need to remember that. So what we're now going to do is we'll get the peak tester on this one. I wonder if this is a working power supply and it just blew the fuse and all these circuit breakers in the consumer unit when it was put across that Duff radio. Working. Well, we'll put that back then.
Do you have a variac?
You're going to need it. There's nothing else broke, is there?
Well, in theory,
No.
But you know, it's a sort of, if you're not sure, you could use a
So
variac.
what I would do, I'm going to check these capacitors. There's 2 capacitors to check, so it's not a big deal. My next course of action will be to go and get the, we've got a tester thing. I don't have to put a mains lead on it, even if it's makeshift. And then we're going to disconnect the primary from the printed circuit. We're going to disconnect the secondary from the printed circuit board. So that's the procedure. Then you check whether the transformer is blowing fuses or whether the electronics is blowing fuses. The other thing we could do, we could apply a bench power supply to this at AC, and I can do that probably even easier. Then we don't have to mess about with the mains for this demonstration. Is it? What's the dog up to? Oh, he's down there.
Problems with his backside.
He's speaking through his rear end.
Just one moment, I'll just take a... He's wagging his tail.
He's fanning it about, isn't he?
Yeah. Because the dog's making PHARGHT S's. So we'll put the transistor back in. I just make sure that it fits from this side first. There's nothing worse than trying to get it to go in from the other side. I think it's pretty tight, this. I think they should have drilled the holes a bit bigger. That one, and that one seem to go through. 40 minutes before all the shoes turn into pumpkins or whatever happens. Or is it the carriage that turns into the pumpkin?
Carriage turns into pumpkin. The footmen turn into mice.
Yeah, that's it.
You see, what we don't want is mice in here. I have them in the house. That's not. I don't bother. That doesn't bother me. But we don't want them anywhere near a pipe organ.
Enzo called a mouse.
Well done.
Didn't kill it, just carried it round his mouth, and then the mouse ran away.
Well, you could have taken that mouse to a cat next door for the cat to deal with. Because cat knows what to do with them.
Cats are vicious.
Oh, they are. They eat them from the backside upwards, so that it prolongs it.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
They torture them first.
Yeah,
Torture them
absolutely.
first.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Look, I've
So
seen-
just back them around and back down for about 10
Yeah.
minutes.
Let it run. Let it think it's getting away.
Yeah.
Pour out. Oh, yeah, you can go again now. Got you.
I mean, a cat will kill a rabbit, won't it?
Big enough, yeah.
And what about birds eating things like rabbits and that? You know, again, they start with taking the works out and pulling the intestines out, and the thing's still alive. It's like being hung, drawn and quartered. I thought we got rid of them.
I think our cat used to leave the gizzard.
Yeah.
There was always something that
Was it there's the
they just don't eat
is
it.
it the gallbladders or something?
Something like
that
that.
leave it behind? I haven't got one of those. I had it removed. I've got this foot-long gash across my fat tummy where it used to be. Right, so we've put that part back. I'm now going to take these 2 capacitors out. We'll test those, and then it'll be applying power one way or another.
We're going to replace the capacitors anyway.
I'm going to replace the capacitors anyway. So now that I think was negative to the right.
Doll.
So looking at the ground plane, it got negative on that capacitor, so it was negative to the right. With these being, I'm going to say low production boards, I'm not going to say homemade, but the kind of thing we could produce. You've not got a solder screen, so you've got solder all over the tracks. It's not a problem, but it makes it a bit more difficult to service and to clean the holes out. We're supposed to have the Christmas tonneau tape going round, but I thought, I'll tell you what, we'll put it in after the club meeting. We don't want to hear about Dolly Parton's hard.
They at work.
No, she's got a.
Coat of many colours.
No, she's got one of those as well. I think she's got a microphone stand with a kink in it to accommodate her bust as well. But no, she's got a hard candy Christmas, but she doesn't care. Yeah, she goes, oh, really hard candy, everything's turned, it's awful. But I don't care. But I think she does care, and that's why she's saying it. So the first capacitor we've got is 100 microfarads at 35 volts. It's a nice quality capacitor, and all we need is a capacitor tester, which Stuart's got, with a flat battery in it. Right, so you can test that. There you are. You've got a lead, and I will take out the other capacitor.
So that way is a capacitor test as well.
I hope so.
This is LCR, so
Oh, right.
that's the L for induction and C for capacitor and R for resistance.
But it's also a resistor tester.
Yeah, just a picture of a transistor around.
Yeah. Very interesting bit, Ken.
Yeah,
Do you want to switch it on?
I kind of think it's over 100 quid, isn't it? I think that was 119. Plug this into your computer so it shows you loads of data. Yeah, won't do it on my DOS mod now, will it?
It's a capacitor,
Yeah,
94.7 microfarads.
fine. So that actually works, but we're not putting it back. And then you can have that one, and I'll go and get 2 replacements. So I want 100 and I want 35, and I want... Okay, so I've gone and got 2 more capacitors, and Ian hasn't. It was Stuart has tested the ones which came out, and they were perfect. So we didn't need to change it, but we are doing simply because it's 40 years old. And because we like changing parts. And it's our product, so it's not like I'm charging anybody. So I just need to remember which way around that one went. Does the young lady want to solder the capacitors in? Not on camera. Yeah, well, we'll pause the camera whilst the young lady... So the young lady has put the capacitors in, and she's been criticised for not putting them low enough down and not really... It doesn't matter.
I'd like to point out, she criticised herself for not
Yes.
doing it.
Turns out she's a roofer by trade. That RSJ was a song. Right, we have here a power supply, an AC power supply. Now, hands up who've got an AC power supply on their bench. I had to nick it off Mr Chippie's bench. We have an AC power supply there. So what we're going to do is we're going to connect this printed circuit board to the AC power supply so that we're not running through the transformer which is built into the power supply unit we're working on. Now, of course, if this has got a fault, this is going to do some grunting, isn't it? It does have a thermal cutout, but it is capable of 8.5 amps. So that, if I was really sensible, I'd have some kind of extra fuse or something.
It's
But
going to fix the fault then, isn't it?
one way or another. So we'll switch that off. I've got this on the 12 volt setting, which is ridiculous because we need about 26 volts, don't we, for a regulation to happen. But it's going to demonstrate whether the thing is basically working. I suppose these are more made for the educational establishments and they don't like students to blow themselves up.
Oh.
And now, here's a confession. We're not in church, here's a confession. When I was at secondary school, Oakwood Comprehensive, Moorgate Road, Rotherham, with James Mayo co-presents Top Gear, I was in the physics class and we were having a demonstration with a piece of apparatus about expansion of metals. And you have this long piece of apparatus and you put a pin in it and you tighten up all these screws, heat it up, tighten them all up again, and then the pin snaps to prove that you've got expansion. Well, while the teacher went into the storeroom, I substituted it for a masonry nail.
You substituted the pin for masonry.
I did, and he didn't notice. I just happened to have one in my briefcase. I went to school with a briefcase. I mean, of course, I've got the service sheets in for people's transistor radios, you know. So he came back and it hadn't done anything. So he heated it all up again, and he screwed it all up, and nothing happened. And he looked at this thing gone out. He didn't notice I'd changed the pin. And then Mr. Brown was his name. Anyway, the apparatus snapped, and not the pin. Goodness knows what I cost the school. Right, we're going to switch on, but I'm going to have my power supply, I'm going to have my meter on, and we'll see what we're getting out. So here we go, we're on DC. Oh, I'm not connected to terminals, I can't do that. Well, we'll play around with it. So I'm going to switch it on and see what happens. We'll monitor AC and see whether we're on load. I know that offload that it was doing 12 volts as it said. So we're going to monitor that. Let's just go into DC, we're into AC. We're in AC, switch on. And we have 12 volts still on the AC power supply. Bite him, doggy, will you? So now we're going to look we're not going to get 12 volts out of this because we're only putting 12 volts in, you need to put 20 odd volts in. But we're going to get something coming out if it's working. So we'll go now to DC, and I'll just try and prop this up so we can... I am under medication for blood pressure. Bear in mind, camera, that I'm in the UK, so all medication is provided free as part of the NHS. Listen to these American... You put YouTube on, and this video might be... Are you in pain? You need this product. Well, go to the doctor, don't you? And the doctor says, you need these pills. And you go and get the pills, and it's free.
Well, the prescription isn't free, depending.
Yeah, depends how old you are. So we've only got 1.3 volts coming out of this.
Oh.
So that doesn't sound right, does it?
You have got volts coming out of it.
I have.
It hasn't gone bang.
No. So looking at the negative rail.
Do you think it could be that driver transistor?
Well, it tested okay, you see. So I've tested every part. So we'll go on to the negative and we'll see what we've got on the base of the transistor. We've got 13 volts, haven't we? Is that because one of the wires that I badly soldered on has come off? That's why. It's because I'm using this crap solder, isn't it? Blame the solder. Right. Just wait for the soldering iron to come up, and hopefully it's fixed.
So what wire come off?
The output from the transistor.
Oh, right, okay. I was surprised you've got any volts at all.
Yeah, it must be just leaking through the odd... perhaps the LED's working as a bit of a... Yeah. See, if the young lady had soldered this on, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
Radiogram, so you're going to need to service a turntable, so you'll have to look at one of my tutorials.
For me?
Yeah, take it all of 40 minutes. And I have the stylus pressure gauges, and I have all the things you could possibly need to borrow. So you need a stylus microscope, don't you? Because you need to know whether the stylus is knackered or not for playing your quadraphonic copy of something.
Probably completely knackered, been sat with the outside.
Right, back on record. Oh, we're still on record, but I'll edit that bit out. So, having now connected the thing back up again, we'll switch back on. I'm going to start again by monitoring the AC because the test needs to start again. So, what wrong mode? That's the one. So we're going to monitor AC. We want it to be about 12 volts coming out. We've got 12 volts coming out. So as I said before, these transformers are about 18, 20, something like that. So there's a headroom to regulate. So we're going to go to DC. It's probably going to be about 10 volts if it works. It's actually 11.98 volts. How about that, folks? 11.98 volts. So that power supply is actually now working, and we've got an LED showing on the front. So the capacitors that the young lady fitted obviously were done correctly. So that's fixed. Now, have we got a 13 amp mains plug? Because with Stuart being an electrician, He'd love to fit one of those.
Can't put any tools.
What tools would Mr. Stewart like? Soy
Pair of
cutters?
scissors and a butter knife.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing.
You had all your tools last week, week before.
In the back of the van, boy, got the tools.
Yeah, but it's -1 out. He's not going out. So there we are. AC power supply, so we can safely check without a transformer. What have you spotted? Burglar. They've got stripy tops on. So here we are. We have put a mains lead on this. We've pinched it off the. We have a reel of this from HMV Stereo Masters. We've had to borrow a plug because when I came to look, the box was empty. It says Tango on it. That's got to be worth something. I've not gone through the cable grommet because we haven't time. I've now got 2 minutes to complete this task, and then the SKARS crew will leave. So we're going to plug this in. No sound effects. Okay, so it hasn't gone bang. So all it's connected to is the transformer. The printed circuit board, which we previously tested, is there. So we'll put this on and see whether we're getting AC coming out of the transformer. Oh, it's not on yet. Now it is. Still not gone bang. We've got 19.3 volts coming out, if you can see that meter, which you probably can't. So quickly turn that off. I'm not even going to unplug it.
Did you not hear the transformer? You heard
the flux density.
Right.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
It was all the bits sort of tighten up because there's a magnetic
So
field.
does a flux capacitor cure that? It'll send us into another.
But I knew it was working because you can hear it.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear it.
No, you can't hear anything, Stuart. So there you go.
We've tested Stuart's hearing by what notes can't he hear on the organ.
Have you had that tested yet? You were going to, I think, weren't you?
Yeah, I've been Specsavers, but I'm waiting for hospital appointment. I can't afford the £2,000 they want to.
There's no reason for it to be that much. It's just Bolox, isn't it?
£2,000 for
Absolute hearing aid. Just
£2,000 for what?
Hearing aids,
Yeah.
Specsavers.
the digital ones, which the NHS issue. You know, we won't buy ones which are no good, or the people will be back all the time. So, Bob. My friend Bob, who's in a care home these days, I got an NHS hearing aid, and it must be about 800 quid or something, and he lost it, and he got to go on an inspection. He got to go back for an appointment, and do you know what he did? He went to Lidl and bought the £6.99 hearing aid, which he said, and he said, "I brought my hearing aid with me." I don't know what the outcome was. Where's the expensive one, the expensive digital one we issued you with? I don't know. So we've got the bare board, we've got it connected up. Let's power it up. And am I going to have the LED or is it going to go bang?
Oh, come on.
And we've got the LED lid. Ooh. So now we're going to DC with the meter. I'll prop this up so the camera can see it. Then we'll pop it onto the electronic load, which for some bizarre reason I've unplugged. And this non-adjustable power supply, we're on DC, and our output is. I'm going to get the probes on. 14.29 offload. So it's supposed to be 13.8 with some kind of load. So we're just going to find out with the electronic load here what we can actually. What am I doing? I don't want that. I want that, and I want that. So I'm just going to move the camera. So we've got the LED on the product. We've got the electronic load there. I'm just going to have to hold the wires across because I can. I probably. So we're showing 14.3 volts there on no load. So I'm going to put a load on, and at the moment the load is set for 0.1 of an amp. So we'll see what happens when I apply that. It's now 14.2. Now CB radios on standby can be about 300 milliamps if they're the older ones, but the newer ones which have CPUs in them are a lot more. So we'd like it to be something sensible by the time we get to 300 milliamps. So we're going to shift that now to 200, 300 milliamps. We're now at 14.1 volts. That's not too scary. So if we were on transmit on a sensible, really efficient UK CB radio doing 4 watts, it would be 1 amp. and there we are at 1 amp. It's 13.8 volts at 1 amp. So if it was one of the more power hungry ones, they're 1.5 amps, 13.72, and if it was a modern set, it can be anything up to 2.5 amps. So let's go to 2 amps. There we have 2 amps, 13.5 volts. Fans come on the load, and 2, 3, 4, 2.5 amps, 12.9. So that's really as much as you'd want to load this power supply. Now it's supposed to do 3 amps. The 5 is probably absolutely BS, but let's go to 3 amps and see what happens. So at 3 amps we've got 11.4 volts. So I'm now going to take the load off. We're now going to select 4 amps and put it on for a second and see what happens. Not 5 but 4. Here goes. 8.5, it's shutting down. So it's BS that it do 5 because it doesn't even do a 4 as a peak. So there we go, we've fixed that, and I'll return to this video when we've put this back together and put the cable through. But that is where we've got with the SKARS meeting, and the young lady put the key components in and everything is hunky-dory. Folks, well they've all gone now, so I've just come back. I've done the cable strain relief because they're a bit of a swine to put in, and we'll put the case back on. I think these were mid-90s. I remember us having them when I was at Nottingham Radio. Yeah, that looks the right way around. Where did I put the screws? So it's nice when you can fix something when we've got the club meeting, you know. People get to see something that's come in broken and how we can turn it back to something useful. Not saying I'm a lover of self-tappers. Didn't say any of this would line up, did I? Good, last screw. So once again we've done a power supply, and the fact it says 5 amp surge is BS. Right, I'll plug it in, final time, switch it on, it lights up. The LED's on the output, so with this product it proves it works. You've seen it on the electronic load. Also, Eddie popped over from Northampton during the course of the week, and he brought, just for stuff for the channel, these were some excellent key items which he'd bought in a batch, and so he's donated a Harry WT1 and a couple of Shira. Is it the 622 this? Yeah, WT 622. There's 2 of those, so it's nice to have those with the boxes. We'll be doing the Thunderpole handheld in a not too distant future, seeing as they've kindly sent us one. No channel 14, no squelch, no transmit, so there you go. Right, so I hope you enjoyed that, and it was a bit of a different, bit of a party atmosphere with the South Kesteven Amateur Radio Society posse. Yeah, it makes it a bit different, so I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching.